The exhaustion you feel was never proof that you were losing. It was proof that you stayed in the fight longer than most people ever could. There were days when you carried responsibilities nobody understood, nights when your mind searched for answers that never seemed to come, and seasons when it felt as if every door you approached remained firmly closed. You kept showing up anyway. You kept moving forward even when encouragement was scarce. You kept believing, even when disappointment tried to convince you that hope was foolish. That is why this message matters so deeply today. You have spent so much time focusing on what was lost, what was delayed, and what was difficult that you may have forgotten to recognize what those experiences created within you. They created endurance. They created wisdom. They created a depth of character that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or inherited. The truth is that some people only know who they are when life is easy. But you learned who you were when life became difficult. You discovered strengths that were invisible during comfortable seasons. You learned how to keep going when nobody applauded your effort. You learned how to remain kind after being disappointed. You learned how to stay faithful after waiting longer than you expected. You learned how to stand after being knocked down more times than you could count. Those lessons did not arrive by accident. They were forged in moments that tested every part of your spirit. There were times when you wondered if anyone noticed your sacrifices. There were moments when your generosity was taken for granted. There were seasons when your loyalty was not returned, your efforts were overlooked, and your heart felt heavy from carrying burdens that few people could see. Yet somehow through all of it, you remained standing. The fact that you are still here says more about your strength than you realize. Many of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. Some of the most important battles you ever fought took place inside your own heart. Nobody saw the tears you wiped away before facing another day. Nobody saw the prayers whispered in moments of uncertainty. Nobody saw the courage it took to continue believing that better days were possible. But those moments mattered. Every act of perseverance mattered. Every step forward mattered. Every decision to keep going mattered. Sometimes people assume that reward only comes in the form of recognition, wealth, status, or achievement. Yet some of the greatest rewards arrive first as transformation. Before circumstances change, something changes within. Before doors open externally, strength develops internally. Before opportunities appear, character is prepared. That preparation can feel frustrating because it rarely looks impressive while it is happening. It often feels like waiting. It feels like stretching. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like wondering whether all the effort is accomplishing anything at all. But preparation is never wasted when it is shaping a person for something greater than they can currently see. You may not realize how much stronger you have become compared to the version of yourself from years ago. The person you were back then might not have survived what you have already endured. The challenges that once seemed impossible are now part of your story. The disappointments that once threatened to break you have become reminders of your resilience. The fears that once controlled your decisions no longer have the same power they once held. Growth often happens so gradually that it becomes difficult to recognize. Yet if you pause for a moment and honestly reflect on your journey, you will notice evidence of transformation everywhere. You are wiser because of what you survived. You are stronger because of what you carried. You are more compassionate because of what you suffered. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. There were times when being a good person felt expensive. There were times when choosing integrity seemed to place you at a disadvantage. There were moments when it appeared that people who cared less, gave less, and sacrificed less moved ahead more quickly. Those moments can create deep discouragement. They can make a person question whether doing the right thing is worth the effort. Yet what often remains hidden is that character compounds over time. Integrity compounds over time. Faithfulness compounds over time. The rewards may not arrive immediately, but the foundation being built beneath your life becomes stronger with every challenge you overcome. This is one reason your hardest test often comes before your greatest reward. The reward is not merely something you receive, it is something you become ready to carry. Imagine receiving a blessing before developing the wisdom required to protect it. Imagine stepping into a new opportunity before developing the maturity necessary to sustain it. Imagine reaching a destination before acquiring the strength needed to remain there. Sometimes the delay is not punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes what feels like abandonment is actually protection. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually development taking place beneath the surface. A seed spends time hidden before anyone sees growth above the ground. During that hidden season, important work is happening. Roots are developing, strength is forming, stability is being established. The same principle often applies to life. Some of the most significant developments occur during seasons that appear uneventful from the outside. While others may only see delay, something deeper may be taking place. Your patience may be growing. Your perspective may be expanding. Your confidence may be becoming less dependent on external validation. Your faith may be learning how to stand independently of immediate results. God sees the process even when you only see the waiting. God sees the progress even when you only see the distance remaining. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. God saw the moments when you nearly gave up but chose to continue. God saw the silent heartbreaks that never became public conversations. God saw every burden you carried while trying to protect others from worry. Nothing was invisible. Nothing was forgotten. Sometimes the greatest source of pain comes from feeling unseen. Human beings long to feel recognized, valued, and appreciated. When those needs remain unmet for extended periods, discouragement naturally follows. Yet your worth has never been determined by how many people noticed your effort. Your value has never depended on applause. Your significance has never depended on recognition. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. The opinions of others cannot accurately measure the value of a soul. The failures of your past cannot accurately measure the potential of your future. The disappointments you experienced cannot accurately predict the blessings that still lie ahead. This is why hope remains so important. Hope is not pretending that difficulties never existed. Hope is recognizing that difficulties do not possess the final word. Hope is understanding that painful chapters are still chapters, not the entire story. Hope is believing that what is ahead can be better than what is behind. Hope is choosing to trust that meaning can emerge even from seasons that made little sense while you were living through them. You have carried burdens that few people ever noticed. You have endured challenges that others never fully understood. You have continued walking through seasons that would have convinced many people to quit. That matters. Your endurance matters. Your faith matters. Your perseverance matters. The strength within you was not created because life was easy. It was revealed because life was difficult. Every setback taught you something. Every disappointment refined something. Every delay strengthened something. None of those experiences were pleasant, but they contributed to the person you are becoming. There is a quiet confidence that develops when a person survives what they once feared. There is a deep peace that develops when a person learns they can endure more than they imagined. There is a powerful sense of purpose that develops when someone realizes their story contains meaning beyond their pain. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Not every tear was wasted. Not every delay was meaningless. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. One day you may look back and realize that what felt like the hardest chapter was actually preparing you for one of the most meaningful seasons of your life. The reward may not arrive in the exact form you once expected, but it often arrives carrying something even more valuable: wisdom, peace, purpose, healing, opportunity, connection, growth, and a deeper understanding of your own strength. Keep remembering that your story has value, even if it did not unfold the way you expected. Keep remembering that your resilience is evidence of something remarkable within you. Keep remembering that the journey itself has already produced qualities that cannot be taken away. The hardest test did not reveal weakness. It revealed endurance. It revealed courage. It revealed faith. It revealed a spirit that refused to surrender. And sometimes that is exactly what prepares a person for the reward that is finally drawing near. If this message encouraged your heart and reminded you that your struggles have not been meaningless, subscribe to the channel and continue walking alongside a community that values faith, healing, perseverance, and purpose. May these messages continue to strengthen your hope and remind you that your journey still holds beautiful possibilities ahead. There comes a moment in many lives when the weight of everything endured begins to feel heavier than the hope of what is still possible. It is not because the person has become weak. It is because they have been strong for far too long. They have carried responsibilities without complaint. They have absorbed disappointments without making them everyone else's burden. They have continued showing kindness after experiencing rejection. They have remained faithful through seasons that seem to offer very little in return. If this describes your journey, then understand something important. The weariness you feel is not evidence that you have failed. It is evidence that you have been fighting battles that demanded more from you than most people ever realized. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes from being misunderstood. It is the loneliness of having good intentions questioned. It is the loneliness of feeling unseen in rooms full of people. It is the loneliness of carrying dreams in your heart that nobody else seems to understand. Many people know what it feels like to lose. Fewer understand what it feels like to keep believing after repeated disappointment. Fewer understand what it feels like to continue giving after receiving very little. Fewer understand what it feels like to wake up each day, determined to move forward while carrying invisible wounds. Yet those invisible battles have been shaping something extraordinary inside you. The world often celebrates visible victories while overlooking the hidden process that makes those victories possible. People admire strength without understanding the pain that created it. They admire wisdom without seeing the mistakes that taught it. They admire confidence without witnessing the years of uncertainty that came before it. They admire resilience without understanding how many times a person almost gave up. You know something about that process. You know what it means to keep going when there are no guarantees. You know what it means to trust when certainty is absent. You know what it means to continue planting seeds of faith when the harvest remains out of sight. That kind of perseverance is not ordinary. It is one of the most valuable qualities a person can develop. The reason your greatest reward often follows your hardest test is because difficult seasons reveal what truly matters. They strip away illusions. They expose priorities. They teach lessons that comfort never could. There are truths that can only be learned in the valley. There are strengths that can only be discovered through struggle. There are depths of character that only emerge when circumstances challenge every assumption you once held. During easier seasons, it is possible to place confidence in temporary things. It is possible to depend on external validation, predictable circumstances, and comfortable routines. But challenges force a deeper examination. They ask difficult questions about identity, purpose, and faith. They reveal whether your value is rooted in who you are or merely in what you possess. They reveal whether your hope depends on circumstances or something deeper. They reveal whether your character remains intact when life becomes difficult. Those lessons are not easy, but they are powerful. They prepare you for opportunities that require maturity rather than mere enthusiasm. Think about how many times you survived situations that once seemed impossible. At the beginning of those seasons, you may have doubted your ability to endure. You may have felt overwhelmed by uncertainty. You may have questioned whether you possessed the strength necessary to continue. Yet somehow one day became another day. One step became another step. One difficult moment eventually became part of your history. Looking back now, you can see evidence of strength that was invisible while you were living through the struggle. The fact that you survived says something remarkable about who you are. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. There is a resilience within you that refused to surrender when circumstances became painful. There is a quiet courage within you that remained present even when fear attempted to take control. That courage deserves recognition. Too often people focus only on what they have not accomplished, while ignoring everything they have overcome. They measure themselves by unfinished goals rather than completed battles. They focus on the distance remaining rather than the ground already covered. Yet every challenge you survived deserves acknowledgement. Every obstacle you overcame deserves recognition. Every season you endured contributed to the person standing here today. Sometimes people wonder why life seemed harder for them than for others. They compare journeys, they compare opportunities, they compare timing, they compare outcomes. Comparison can create tremendous discouragement because it hides important truths. It hides unseen struggles. It hides private battles. It hides the unique purpose attached to each individual life. Your journey was never meant to look exactly like someone else's journey. Your timing was never meant to mirror someone else's timing. Your lessons were never meant to be identical to someone else's lessons. There is a unique story unfolding within your life, and every chapter contributes to its meaning. This does not mean every painful experience was desirable. It does not mean every loss was pleasant. It simply means that meaning can emerge even from difficult circumstances. Some of your greatest growth occurred during seasons you would never choose to repeat. Some of your deepest wisdom emerged from experiences you once wished to avoid. Some of your most important transformations began in moments that initially felt like setbacks. Life often works this way. What appears to be an ending becomes a beginning. What appears to be a loss becomes a lesson. What appears to be a delay becomes preparation. What appears to be a closed door becomes protection. It is not always possible to recognize these truths immediately. Sometimes understanding arrives later. Sometimes perspective develops gradually. Sometimes the purpose hidden within a painful season only becomes visible after enough time has passed. This is why faith remains important even when answers are limited. Faith allows a person to continue moving forward without possessing complete understanding. Faith allows hope to survive uncertainty. Faith allows purpose to remain alive during seasons when results seem absent. God has not forgotten the journey you have walked. God has not overlooked the sacrifices you made. God has not ignored the prayers spoken in quiet moments of desperation. Every tear mattered. Every act of faithfulness mattered. Every choice to continue mattered. Human recognition is often inconsistent. People overlook things. People misunderstand things. People forget things. But divine awareness does not operate that way. The moments nobody celebrated were still seen. The burdens nobody understood were still noticed. The victories nobody applauded still carried significance. There is comfort in knowing that your value exists independently of public recognition. There is freedom in understanding that your worth was never determined by popularity, status, or approval. The world may overlook quiet faithfulness, but that does not diminish its importance. In fact, some of the most meaningful accomplishments occur far from public attention. Some of the most important acts of courage happen in private. Some of the greatest demonstrations of character take place when nobody is watching. You have likely experienced moments when continuing required tremendous effort. Moments when getting out of bed felt like a victory. Moments when choosing hope felt like an act of courage. Moments when remaining kind felt difficult because pain had accumulated over time. Yet you continued. That matters more than you realize. Every time you chose faith over despair, something within you strengthened. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, something within you healed. Every time you chose perseverance over surrender, something within you matured. Growth often occurs quietly. It does not always announce itself. It develops gradually beneath the surface through repeated choices made during ordinary days. Then one day, a person looks back and realizes they have become someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than they ever imagined possible. Perhaps this is where you are now. Perhaps you are closer to the reward than you realize, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you have become prepared for a new season, prepared to receive opportunities without being controlled by them, prepared to experience blessings without taking them for granted, prepared to walk through open doors with wisdom gained from previous challenges, prepared to appreciate what once seemed impossible because you remember what it cost to arrive here. The reward following the hardest test is often deeper than expected. It includes peace that circumstances cannot easily remove. It includes confidence rooted in experience rather than appearance. It includes gratitude strengthened by perspective. It includes purpose refined through hardship. It includes relationships valued more deeply because loneliness taught their importance. It includes hope that has survived enough disappointment to become resilient. Your story is not defined by the seasons that hurt you. Your story is defined by the strength that carried you through them. The chapters filled with struggle are not the conclusion. They are part of the preparation. They are part of the transformation. They are part of the foundation beneath everything still to come. Continue remembering that your kindness matters, your endurance matters, your faith matters, your journey matters. The battles you survived matter. The lessons you learned matter. The person you became through it all matters. There is beauty in a life that refuses to surrender. There is power in a heart that continues believing. There is dignity in a spirit that remains compassionate after disappointment. These qualities are precious. These qualities are rare. These qualities often emerge only after the hardest tests have done their work. If this message reminded you that your perseverance has purpose and your journey still holds promise, subscribe to the channel and continue growing with a community centered on faith, encouragement, healing, and personal strength. May each message help you remember that you are not forgotten, your story is not finished, and brighter seasons can still be ahead. One of the greatest misconceptions people carry is the belief that difficult seasons are evidence that something has gone wrong with their lives. When pain lasts longer than expected, when answers seem delayed, when opportunities disappear, and when loneliness becomes familiar, it is easy to assume that the future has somehow been diminished. Yet many of the most meaningful transformations begin in circumstances that initially feel disappointing. The very season that appears to be taking something away may actually be preparing something greater within you. This is not always easy to recognize while you are living through it. When your heart is tired, perspective becomes difficult. When prayers seem unanswered, hope requires effort. When losses accumulate, optimism can feel fragile. Yet even then, something important remains true. Your current struggle does not possess the authority to define your final destination. Too many people allow temporary pain to convince them that permanent defeat is inevitable. They mistake a chapter for the entire story. They mistake a season for a lifetime. They mistake a setback for an identity. But you are more than the disappointments you experienced. You are more than the mistakes you made. You are more than the moments that left you questioning your value. There is something deeply valuable within you that difficult circumstances could never erase. Perhaps you have spent years carrying burdens that nobody fully understood. Perhaps you became the strong one because others depended on you. Perhaps you learned to hide your own struggles because you did not want to add weight to someone else's life. Perhaps you smiled when your heart felt heavy. Perhaps you encouraged others while desperately needing encouragement yourself. These experiences leave marks. They create exhaustion that cannot always be explained. They create loneliness that can exist even when surrounded by people. They create questions that linger quietly in the background of daily life. Yet they also reveal something extraordinary. They reveal your capacity to endure. They reveal the depth of your compassion. They reveal the strength of your character. Many people would have become bitter after enduring what you endured. Many people would have surrendered after facing the disappointments you faced. Many people would have allowed pain to harden their hearts. Yet here you are, still hoping, still believing, still searching for meaning, still caring about others, still trying to move forward. Never underestimate how remarkable that is. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Every challenge left evidence of resilience behind. Every difficult season strengthened muscles of the soul that comfort alone could never develop. Every setback forced growth in areas that would otherwise have remained untouched. Life has a way of teaching its deepest lessons through experiences we never would have voluntarily chosen. Some lessons emerge through loss. Some emerge through waiting. Some emerge through disappointment. Yet once learned, they become permanent parts of who we are. They become sources of wisdom capable of guiding future decisions. They become reminders that survival is possible even when circumstances appear overwhelming. They become proof that strength often grows quietly beneath the surface, long before anyone notices it externally. Consider how differently you view life today compared to years ago. Your understanding has expanded. Your perspective has matured. Your priorities have shifted. Things that once seemed overwhelmingly important may no longer carry the same significance. Things that once went unnoticed may now feel deeply valuable. This is the result of growth. It is the result of experience. It is the result of enduring tests that demanded more from you than you thought you could give. Your hardest test was never merely about survival. It was also about preparation. Preparation for greater wisdom. Preparation for greater purpose. Preparation for greater gratitude. Preparation for opportunities that require depth rather than superficial confidence. There are blessings that can only be appreciated by someone who remembers what it felt like to go without them. There are opportunities that can only be managed wisely by someone who understands struggle. There are relationships that can only be valued properly by someone who has experienced loneliness. Hardship does not automatically produce wisdom, but when endured with faith and perseverance, it often becomes one of life's greatest teachers. This is why your greatest reward may arrive carrying far more significance than you currently imagine. It will not merely be about receiving something desirable, it will be about recognizing the value of what arrives. It will be about possessing the maturity necessary to appreciate it. It will be about understanding the journey that made it meaningful. There is a difference between obtaining something quickly and becoming ready for it. Readiness often requires time. Readiness often requires challenges. Readiness often requires lessons that cannot be rushed. Looking back, there were probably moments when you desperately wanted certain outcomes that never materialized. At the time, those disappointments may have felt devastating. Yet with greater perspective, you may now recognize that some closed doors protected you from paths that were never meant for you. Some delays redirected you toward better opportunities. Some endings created space for healthier beginnings. Some losses removed burdens you were never intended to carry forever. Understanding this does not erase the pain those experiences caused. It simply reminds you that not every disappointment is evidence of failure. Sometimes disappointment is redirection. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes it is protection. God often works in ways that are difficult to understand in the moment. The absence of immediate answers does not mean the absence of purpose. The presence of difficulty does not mean the absence of care. The delay of a blessing does not mean the denial of a blessing. Many people discover this only after enough time has passed to reveal the bigger picture. Until then, faith becomes the bridge between present uncertainty and future understanding. Faith does not require pretending that everything feels easy. Faith simply means continuing to trust that your story contains meaning even when complete understanding remains unavailable. God saw every silent battle. God saw every disappointment. God saw every moment when exhaustion nearly convinced you to stop trying. God saw every prayer offered through tears. God saw every act of kindness that received no acknowledgement. God saw every sacrifice made out of love. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was ignored. Nothing was forgotten. The world may move quickly past the struggles of others, but divine awareness never does. This truth becomes especially important during seasons when external validation is absent. Many people spend years seeking approval, recognition, and acceptance from others. Yet eventually, life teaches an important lesson. The opinions of others are too unstable to serve as the foundation of self-worth. One day people praise you, another day they misunderstand you, one day they support you, another day they overlook you. If your value depends entirely upon their responses, peace becomes impossible to maintain. True confidence emerges when you understand that your worth exists independently of public opinion. Your value was never determined by how many people believed in you. Your value was never determined by how many people understood your journey. Your value was never determined by how many people appreciated your sacrifices. You mattered before they noticed. You mattered when they overlooked you. You matter now. This understanding creates freedom. It allows you to continue moving forward without requiring constant validation. It allows you to pursue purpose rather than approval. It allows you to remain faithful even when applause is absent. Some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. Some of your most courageous decisions were made privately. Some of your most significant breakthroughs occurred internally, long before they became visible externally. Those victories deserve respect. Those victories deserve acknowledgement. They helped create the person you are becoming. And that person is stronger than the one who entered the struggle, wiser than the one who first faced disappointment, more compassionate than the one who first experienced pain, more resilient than the one who once doubted whether survival was possible. That transformation matters. It is part of the reward. It is part of the blessing. It is part of the evidence that difficult seasons were accomplishing more than you realized. The hardest test often feels endless while it is happening. Yet eventually, the day arrives when you recognize how far you have come. You recognize how much you have grown. You recognize that the person who almost gave up became the person who endured. You recognize that the chapter filled with struggle did not destroy your story. It strengthened it. Your future remains unwritten. Your possibilities remain alive. Your purpose remains valuable. The difficult seasons do not define your destiny. They contributed to your preparation. They revealed your strength. They refined your character. They deepened your faith. They taught you lessons that will continue serving you long after the struggle has passed. Never forget that your story has value. Never forget that your endurance matters. Never forget that your kindness matters. Never forget that your faith matters. Never forget that the reward often becomes meaningful precisely because of the test that came before it. The journey was difficult, but it was not empty. The waiting was painful, but it was not pointless. The struggle was exhausting, but it was not meaningless. Something beautiful was being formed within you all along. If these words brought encouragement to your heart, subscribe to the channel and continue receiving messages that strengthen faith, inspire perseverance, and remind you that you are never walking this journey alone. Together, we can continue exploring hope, healing, purpose, and the quiet strength that carries people through every season of life.